Live tonight from Motorsport Hell for a second time on this iRX Championship, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to Locked at Hell RX from Norway for the sixth and final round of the Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. Happy that you're with us on the iRacing Sports Network once more. We're alongside Jonathan Saban. My name is Evan Pasoko. Downstairs, our producer David Danboys bringing us to you. And we're finally back overseas, Johnny, after our American swing. And we're back to where it all kicked off for the final round of what has been a real fun championship series.
It's been very fun. Back at Hell RX. It's in Norway, situated near the town of Hell, which where it gets its name. The official name of the circuit is actually Lankabeinen, and I'm not going to bother pronouncing that for the rest of the broadcast here today. A Norwegian word, a Norwegian culture around the circuit. We head back to a racetrack where the Joker is longer than the track layout. It's the FIA World Rallycross style and the European style compared to the shortcuts we have in the USA, and it's a circuit where the likes of Kevin Hansen racing today has fared well at the pass. He's never won here in rallycross competition in the real world, but he's got more experience than everybody else out there on the service.
And this track opened in 1987. You mentioned it gets its nickname Hell after the nearby village. It became the first asphalt racetrack in Norway, but it found its true calling in the motorsports world, the discipline of that multi-surface variety for rallycross. This track made its national championship debut 2 years later, stepped up to the European championship level in 2011, and 3 years after that became a part of the first FIA World Rallycross Championship, and it has been a staple on the schedule ever since then. But you talk about the unique characteristics we've already seen around here. It was the open race of the championship where it was Mitchell de Jong on the Yokohama pole and the checkered flag. But of course, this is so different than those American style tracks, not only in the fact that the Joker is going to be longer, but just the fact that this is built on the side of a hill. All those American tracks really conversions of other kind of racing facilities. Hell's noticeable for its drastic elevation changes, that European-style Joker lap, which forces drivers to take a longer route, is at the end of the front straightaway, while those off-camber corners keeping even the most skilled masters of car control on their toes. It is really such a fun track, and I would put it up there as one of the more difficult ones we see on this 6-week season.
Yeah, very difficult. Some drivers say it's tough to overtake around here, but I disagree. I think most rallycross circuits are like that. I think there are some good overtaking spots, especially down into turn number 1. Look out for the start today. If there are drivers starting on the outside, they'll head straight to the Joker that's situated on the outside of turn number 1. That's gravel filled. This track too is 2/3 asphalt, 1/3 gravel. And that means all those gravel sections are placed on purpose, Evan, through certain portions of the racetrack that will provide difficulty to the driver as they lap around here. Even for the likes of James Hinchcliffe, who you watch on screen in the VW Beetle, you saw the exit of turn number 1 there. They filled it with gravel, Evan, and what that means is as soon as you apply the throttle, you have almost no grip available. So you have to rely on the four-wheel drive, and you have to rely on minimal steering input to make your way around the circuit.
And you can see high to wide that time for Chris Atkinson. That's the Joker lap off in the runoff to turn number 1. Transitions back onto the pavement for a left-hander in turn number 2. Currently working in the practice session. Of course, all these drivers coming from a wide array of motorsports, from rallycross, IndyCar, NASCAR, and just about everything else in between. And somebody else that we saw a moment ago was Sage Karam. But on that note, let's talk about what we saw last week at Atlanta. Semi-Matty Trogan got it kicked off with the second pole position of the season, so he's got another one of those Bear Walker custom skateboards on route, but it was a surprise finish by de Jong after Sage Karam looked like he was going to be cruising to the victory. It was the last lap Joker by de Jong to go for his 4th win of the season. That race had the thrills and the spills. I think one of the most entertaining races we had seen so far.
Yeah, I love those circuits with such a long Joker Delta lap time. It was 8 to 8.5 seconds around there, and you saw Mitchell de Jong sneak through on the final lap. and sleuthed his way there like it was a movie, basically. You had no idea he was coming through, snatched the lead on the final lap and took the win. That's the second time I've seen it in sim racing in a live event. The first time was with a guy named Garrett Lowe, who became our youngest ever winner in the World Championship back in 2018. And he snuck through at Iowa, which is around about an 11-second Joker Delta time, so even longer. Today, the official Joker Delta is about 3.8 seconds. The way to do it, Evan, is send it into the corner. Some drivers will use the handbrake, some might not, but it's a very tight right-hander. And then send it through on the exit, full throttle as quickly as possible. That's going to be spectacular come the race. We now switch over to qualifying as race control. Aaron Bean and Matt Kalish officially switch the session over, and we should get in to 3 official laps here from the drivers. The tires do last a good 1 lap. There's the Joker I'm talking about. Send it as hard as possible. I wish Andreas Backerud was racing around here today, because he sent it there quite enjoyably, let me tell you that much, quite enthusiastically when we were watching him earlier on in preseason testing.
Yeah, of course, he was the first Norwegian to actually win the Norway round of the FIA World Championship back in 2016. It was great to have him with us for that first time out. Taking a look at the likes of Travis Picoy, and as this qualifying session plays through, and we watch some of them take their 3 laps around, let's talk about the points coming into this evening, because Mitchell de Jong has mathematically, I believe, locked things up at the top, just courtesy of how dominant he has been. However, there is 1 drop week on the 6 rounds of the championship. As you see, de Jong's number 24 VW get out on track right now. So Trogan, speed without the drop, only separated by 2 points. The likes of Parker Kligerman, Craig Breen, 4th and 5th, depending on how tonight shakes out, could crack the top 3, because the ultimate goal of this championship, and we've been saying it since the start, is yes, to get all these real world stars on the sim, but to do it for a good cause. And $10,000 going to be divvied up amongst your top 3 in the points to go to charities of their choice. Again, we know de Jong's got P1, so he'll get $5,000 donated to his charity in his name, but $3,000 to second and $2,000 to third going to be determined based on tonight's finishing order.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing who decides those 2nd and 3rd spots. Now, the beauty of our point system is that points are not handed for qualifying, and we will invert the order, but there is a custom skateboard to win, Evan. And that's going to be crafted by Bear Walker himself, and you can follow him at Bear Walker Official on Instagram. He's done a splendid job this season of doing that, and when I've seen the drivers post them on their social channels when they do receive them, as we ride on board with Scott Speed during qualifying, it is worth pole position, and it is worth starting last in the heats. It's that good.
It is, and listen, if Mitchell gets too many of those things and he runs in a room on his wall, I think I could find a spot for it if he wants to give one up, because, I mean, he's been dominant. It's been him and Semi Matty back and forth. Currently, though, you can see qualifying times left-hand side, as de Jong now just going to get his first timed lap going, and actually, he's not going to be credited. There it is now. It comes in 37.167, so he goes to the top of the board. Trogan to P2, so they knock Bigum off. No shock there. Scott Speed, somebody else to watch. Again, 3 attempts, so that running order could shuffle, but I'm not shocked by the 1-2 look.
Yeah, I've rarely seen a 36-second lap time here in live competition, so a low 37 will get it done for at least pole position or a front row spot. So they should be good. de Jong and Trogan, our 2 best runners in rallycross in the world right now in sim racing. How about Andretti's James Hinchcliffe, the Canadian, coming through towards the end of the lap here at Hell. That's a very difficult corner. He's run wide, but it's not, I mean, it's obviously his fault, but it's very difficult to get correct as the Beetle crosses the line, and Hinchcliffe will still be down the order as well. He has impressed. And how about Mike Krahaluk, who is from Seattle? He's coming towards one of his runs, his first round of the season this time out in the All-Star Invitational.
Yeah, we've seen some new faces here the last couple of weeks, and not how he wanted that one to shake out, as he'll be piloting number 8 machine, but 2 names behind the Penny Arcade webcomic. Happy that he's joining us here this evening from Lochabanan, and You can see he's out there in the qualifying session. That car's got some battle wounds on it. I'm feeling like that's what some of the cars are going to look like as this race goes on this evening. Let's talk about format as well. You talk about the invert qualifying. Going to divvy up the field amongst 4 different heat races, in which we will take tonight the top 2 to our feature race. There will also be 2 last chance qualifiers where only the winners advance. All of those 6 laps that feature 10 laps at the end, and it is Trogan to the top of the board. His 37.090 tops De Jong. Will that stick?
Well, De Jong, I think, has used up his laps, so if there's anybody else that's going to beat him for pole, it's unlikely. Scott Speed and Christian Brooks have really been the best of the rest in the simulator world, so I think Trogan's got it for the moment as the session ticks down to 0. What a thrilling lap that is from Sammy Matty Trogan. Last time out, the pole time was a 37.125. Trogan's blitzed that, and he's got our quickest time of the season here at Hell so far as the qualifying session wraps up, and we get to look at our results from the session. Now, is that correct over there with a 36.2 for Pecoy?
McCoy definitely maybe earlier today in the practice session, but it is a 37.090 for Trogan, who is on the pole position for qualifying. And there it is now as it cycles through. So you were looking at your practice times. There's Q with De Jong, Speed, Brooks through your top 4. So the top qualifier is going to be divvied out through the heat races. So every group of 4 going to be cycling down through. There's a look through your top 20, Pastrana, other drivers down there. And it is Krahulik unable to get the time through the number 27 spot. So we will invert the top 7, invert the 7 spots for heat race number 1. Let's take a look at your starting grid, and it'll be the 222 machine of Blake Bilko Williams on to pole position for this one. He'll be bringing us to the green flag from the best seat in the house. It'll be accompanied on the front row. That's the number 55 machine of Chris Atkinson. Continuing on through back to the second row, it is Connor Daly, the NTT IndyCar Series driver for Eddie Carpenter Racing and Carlota Motorsport, along the 180 machine of Brandon Semeniuk, the Canadian out of Whistler, BC, starts in 4. The Craig Breen, one of the drivers we talked about being one of the top challengers in your points, is in the number 5 spot. Kevin Bingham missed out on a pole. He ended up dropping down to 5th best. That'll put him 6th on the grid for this one. And now a 3-time consecutive Yokohama pole position award winner, Sammy Matty Trogan. Courtesy the best time, Johnny has to go to the back. He'll be P7.
Yeah, he's going to earn his way through the field. And credit to Chris Leone and the series organizers. There'll be points paid for the heats, but not for qualifying. But we will be ready to go for heat racing action soon. The way you start these cars, you can use clutch starts. You can apply the brake. We've already had somebody... Okay, now...
Yeah, that's not how to do it, though.
All right, well, that's green now. We're going to go. Chris Atkinson had to pull it. He's just going to vanish from the racetrack. The racing's underway for round 1. We've got Carnage. We've got a couple cars taking to the Joker as well. And Trogan's already into the lead.
Yeah, so that was Williams in the 222 who got turned around. The battle up front sees, it is obviously pulling away for the rest of the field there. You mentioned Trogan, who opts not to go for the Joker on the opening lap. Semeniuk 2, Bigham, Daly, your top 4. And then you trickle down to Craig Breen, who's the second driver actually in the running order behind Bigham and Daly, who took the Joker. So that longer Joker lap, not a shock, Johnny, that these guys got it out of the way on the opening lap, but also this is one of the shorter tracks on the calendar, just 0.63 miles, 7 turns in length, so these things aren't going to last long. As Trogan up at the front of the field wants to continue to grow that advantage, opting not to go for the Joker. We're going to see that out of him maybe on the final lap.
Yep, just over 1 kilometers long, depending on your units of choice, or depending on where you were educated in the world for sure as well. I have no idea about the imperial system as we ride on board with Brandon Semeniuk from Whistler, Canada, coming through towards the end of the lap here at Hell, and he has a brilliant view of Sammy Matty Trogan ahead. He's yet to use the Joker. As you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, Trogan will not use it until the final lap or until Semeniuk opts to use the Joker himself. He'll have those delta times on board. As soon as he has about a 4.5 second buffer, he'll be heading straight through to the Joker, and he should win this first heat.
You talk about the accolades for these drivers. Of course, Trogan, the defending iRacing Rallycross world champion. You got Brandon Semenuk in second position, a 5-time event winner in the Canadian Rally Championship. And Gavin Bigham, I think that battle between 2 and 3 may be the most entertaining one in this one. Although Breen Daly not that far back again already. With the Joker out of the way, it could be tight. But of course, Bigham, we saw the speed from him early on in this one. 2016 GRC Light Class champion. They all still opt to take the quick way around. And again, with only 6 laps in each of these heat races, this thing going to see 2 to go next time by, as the O2 continuing to try to close in on much as it can on the 180 Subaru, as Semenuk in second.
So it looks like Bigham should head through, I guess, there, Evan, because Bigham's taken to the Joker. And the gap between him and Trogan is 4.5 seconds. So at the moment, we're expecting Trogan to win the heat with Cabot Bigham in second. Cabot Bigham, who races for Jim Beaver and Dirtfish Rally School. There is Semenuk heading to the Joker, and that's going to hand Bigham the second position. Semenuk's going to fall to at least the 5th spot. So Semenuk's, no, excuse me, down to 4th position, just ahead of Connor Daly. So Semenuk there, not even in your top position to transfer to your LCQs here.
He cycles through, takes that position away, and because of all of that, as you mentioned, those top 2 cars who have still yet to do so, or I guess I should say the top single car who has yet to do so, and Trogan takes the white flag of final lap, so he'll go high side around, kicks that thing way out in his Williams Esports entry, and you'll see Bigham close the gap just a little bit. There he is in the foreground, but the difference between those two is still going to be about a second and change, as Trogan just looks to stay clean and to go successfully for the back to the front, looking for the win in Heat Race 1.
That was a brilliant Scandinavian flick. I took the McLaren Formula 1 car around here the other day just for a bit of a laugh. And you can't Scandinavian flick that as good as you can these 4-wheel drive things. So that's the beauty of iRacing. You can combine anything you want. As Trogan almost laps a car, which you rarely see in Rallycross, and wins heat number 1. He heads straight through to the feature along with Cabot Bigham, and it was all about the start, wasn't it? As we see the driver send it after the race. That was Semenuk piling into another Subaru. And again, Semenuk, I think, is sent into the crowd, perhaps.
He got a second shot as these drivers blow off some steam. I think that extra little bit of a bump at the end of this race was courtesy of Connor Daly, who is going to be headed off to one of those LCQs. So Trogan, Bigham, they are moving on. So it'll be Breen, Semenuk, Daly, Williams, and Atkinson relegated to an LCQ. Going to have to win one of those races if they want things to continue on through. Let's take a look at your starting grid for heat race number 2, and as we get set to roll for this one, a fun story. The number 16 machine of Greg Biffle will be starting on pole position for this heat race. That's courtesy of not a very good qualifying effort that the number 16 car wanted. But Greg Biffle, we talk about where all these drivers are racing from. How about that? Greg Biffle competing with us today from his boat. Johnny, I think that's the ultimate sim racing flex I've ever seen.
Yeah, it definitely is. He's got better connection that we're seeing on the server than some drivers racing from home. But I'm more stressed out about the 9 notifications to check out on the left-hand side of screen, Evan.
Yeah, so, Greg Biffle's going to be up front, but he's going to be the target for this. So I'm kind of worried about that one. And we've seen some drivers get mad and kind of throw the headset down. If he gets mad, it might go off and overboard. So Biffle starts first. That puts him on the very inside of that front row. Then it is the 6 of Justin Lofton in the middle, who will start from second. And it is the NHRA champion in Ron Capps starting at third. 3 wide rows here. Kevin Swindell starting from P4. It'll be Sage Karam fifth, and Mitchell DeYoung second in queue at the very back.
Now, there's a chance Connor Martell will not make the grid, so we'll wait on him, but he doesn't have much longer because the race control and the stewards want to get this race going, and they want the lights to illuminate. So there's a chance the 21 of Martell may pop up on screen, and if he doesn't, Evan, the race will begin without him.
He dropped out of the server, had to get back in, so he is currently on the clock as the rest of the cars stay loaded in. If he is to start, I think he'll populate on the very outside, 3 wide of that middle row. That would put him alongside of the 0-2 Ford of Sage Karam, who again nearly won this thing in his iRX debut last week at Atlanta. But everybody else ready to go as they give him every opportunity he could afford to get back into this one. And of course, that first heat race, we saw Chris Atkinson jump early, and obviously that penalized him. These drivers get a little bit antsy. You got to wait for the lights to go red and then to go green before they're actually able to go, as it looks like the clock may have expired on Connor Bartel. That would force one of the fastest cars back into an LCQ. We're getting set to go for heat race 2, and maybe a jump for Biffle on the inside, but we're off and away 4 wide. Who goes for the Joker?
How about that? So Sage Karam sent it to the Joker from the middle, something you rarely see, but it's Ron Capps who leads our drag racer. From Greg Biffle, our boat racer. From Kevin Swindell as they head into this very sluggish right-hander. I've never seen 3 wide here at Hell. And finally it ends in carnage as Biffle and Swindell make some contact.
And they can't get off each other. Swindell into the Armco. Biffle's off it into the grass, and it just did not work out as they fought 3 wide for the lead. And now it is a heavyweight battle at the front because Ron Capps leads Mitchell DeYoung, who picked up 5 spots on the opening lap alone. He's trying to get around the number 28 Napa Auto Parts entry. You're on board with him.
I'm very confused as to why the drivers on the outside didn't take to the Joker. That's benefited Sage Karam very well. And DeYoung, it's hard to see on screen, but I thought he pulled a move off there on Ron Capps. They're heading through now to the end of the lap here at Hell. And it could be the 2 Coanda SimSport drivers of Mitchell DeYoung and Sage Karam who may win this heat. But now let's wait and see in these next few laps how the race shapes up. Capps to the Joker. Let's see where he ends up on the exit. How about Swindell to the Joker? That promotes Karam to second, just as I predicted.
To the 24 for the undercut. Karam takes over second, expecting DeYoung still to have enough time to be able to go for the Joker, and I don't think would get overtaken by these drivers. His advantage over Sage, 4.2 seconds on the live timing, but you see on the left-hand side of your screen, those Joker laps remaining. Going to update this time by the start-finish straight. DeYoung up front again, likely going to save this for the final trip around. So if Capps wants to get in, he's going to have to catch Sage Karam. But it is the IndyCar star P2 who's faster and pulling away right now.
Nice stuff. And is it a coincidence, Evan, that DeYoung and Trogan just keep finding themselves winning these heats?
Well, the thing that we talked about last time we were here at Hell to kick off the season, we didn't have this invert. So when it was, pole position for DeYoung, won his heat, won the feature. Not that it wasn't much of a challenge, but it was total domination. Of course, we've had a ton of fun with this invert format, but I mean, those guys are so fast to the point where I think they're showing that you can try whatever you want to slow them down. That cream always going to rise to the top.
Yeah, well, we need to give them a 30-second penalty, it seems, or something along those lines. That's the advantage they've got at the moment. DeYoung, I'm over-exaggerating there, but DeYoung's leading this race by 5 seconds, now 6 over Sage Karam. These two are sim racers or teammates in the sim racing world together. The VRS Coanda SimSport team, for those who may be new to virtual racing, they're one of your best teams in the virtual environment, and DeYoung will cross the line and officially receive the white flag and head to his 1 mandatory Joker lap that he'll have to take, and he nails it. So we should be good for the rest of the lap here, and this is such a thrilling lap to drive around Hell. There's some criticism from some drivers that they don't like the circuit. I love it. I think it's quite a challenge. The elevation change adds an element we don't usually see on our US rallycross circuits. But here he comes now to win yet another heat, and he'll have prime position to head through to the feature and 5 championship points for our All-Star Invitational champion. Not that he needed any more.
He stays strong at a track that can't be compared to any others. And DeYoung, winner of heat race number 2, Karam on through to follow in second position. and it'll be the 2-4 and the 0-2-4 who punched their tickets. They are headed to today's feature race. No surprise there. There will not be, though, an invert for the LCQs, so that means Ron Caps just missing out in this one as the final couple of cars come across the start-finish line. Caps finishes P3. He will get the best spot in his LCQ, where he will be joined by the likes of Swindell, Lofton, and Biffle, who have to give it a try again, including Connor Martell, who missed the start. Let's take a look at your starting grid now for heat race number 3. Same rules apply as always, and with that invert, it is going to be Mike Krahulik on the pole position for this one. He'll start first on the inside of a 3-wide group. That'll see the number 100 machine of Josh Sheehan in the Nitro Circus Star Car this week, accompanied by, speaking of Nitro Circus, there it is, the number 199 Subaru of Travis Pastrana. Then some names we talked a lot about on pre-race. The 29 James Hinchcliffe, the Canadian IndyCar driver, starting fourth. In the middle of all that, going to be the number 71 machine. That is Kevin Hansen. To the outside, Parker Klickerman, a podium hopeful in this championship, needs to get some work done if he wants to go to the feature. And at the very back, your third best car in qualifying, the 41 machine of Scott Speed, in that deadlock with Trogan for P2 in the points.
This is a very talented heat grid we have here, and only 2 will advance to the feature. Everybody else will get a second chance to head to that important race later on. Mike Krahulik, don't count him out. We had Tim Stevens driving at Lucas Oil a couple of weeks ago, and yes, he's not a race car driver, but he fared very well. How will Krahulik go on the inside? He's gone nowhere off the start, and he's held up Scott Speed in the Subaru, and I think everybody's headed to the Joker here on the opening lap. That allows and opens the door for Scott Speed to head through to the normal part of the racetrack. But Hinchcliffe leads so far, and we're still trying to sort out the order down the back of the pack. But Pastrana's ahead of Hansen, ahead of Sheehan, ahead of Kligerman.
As you saw those top 2-3 cars up to that Joker. Krahulik spinning off and into the gravel. Pastrana gets into him. They straighten it all out, but it'll slow that group down and give a big advantage to Kevin Hansen as the lead car, who has already gone for the Joker lap. That's way off track there for the Subaru in the back. As we look at the one up front, Scott Speed overtakes James Hinchcliffe. 1-2, still yet to Joker. No shock that the 41 machine, the fastest. You'll see the Jokers to go update as they come across the line. It should be just Speed, Hinchcliffe, and Krahulik yet to do so.
So I guess the same as race number 1, or heat number 1, excuse me. Speed will only take to it if the track is open, otherwise it'll be on the final lap. So Speed's got this race in his hands. He's quick enough. He set the 3rd best qualifying time, which is why he starts last in our inverted grid for the heat. As we ride on board with Hinchcliffe. And you get a sense of how difficult it is to stop the car into that first hairpin. Now into a second hairpin through here. No need for the hand brake through there since it's a tarmac section. Here's a very sluggish section of the racetrack, Evan. You never get the car turned in here. It's so difficult. You have to be so patient on the throttle, and the more throttle you use through this next left-hander, the further you'll head up into the grass on the right-hand side. So it's all about patience through the gravel section and steadiness through the tarmac.
And right there over the line, that's really the only jump on this track. That bit of a hill is Hinchcliffe going to go high side to go for the Joker on lap number 4. So his Joker lap done, and you can see there it is as he gets overtaken by Hansen, who almost threw the corner away. Hansen checked way up. Hinchcliffe was on the wheel well. He tried his best to not make contact. The battle between these two going to be the engaging one, I believe, for the transfer, although Hansen better off should be able to maintain P2 if he can limit mistakes. They're looking for 2 laps to go. This back half of the racetrack, I think, though, my favorite section, that winding left-hander.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then the right-hander afterwards, the final corner, you can never see the exit. You need to be on the gas before you even spot the exit. So it's all about reference points and muscle memory as we ride on board with Andretti's James Hinchcliffe, who's been racing an IndyCar for the entirety of his career pretty much. and has fared quite well for himself. I remember him from many, many years ago, and good to see him still hanging around strong. Now, Hansen here finished second last year in supercars, the top level of FIA World Rallycross. It was his best finish. His brother ended up winning the championship in South Africa. That was a thrilling finale if you want to catch it out sometime soon over on your social and internet networks. Hansen looks like he's going to head through though to the feature, which will be good to see, but Scott Speed untouched yet again in the sim. He looks quick and he's improving week to week. Good stuff from our three-time Red Bull Global Rallycross champion.
And he took his Joker at the 2 laps to go, so if you're curious and maybe he forgot it there, he already got out of the way. And of course, you talk about all of the Rallycross accolades. Let's throw a fun stat out there. The NASCAR Truck Series winner from 2008, Scott Speed, gets the win in Heat Race 3. We got to mix it up with these guys every once in a while. That margin of victory, 3.7 seconds ahead of Kevin Hansen. Still, he'll stay in the number 2 spot, winning out in that battle with Hinchcliffe for the transfer as they all get their payback post-race in this one. Big names, though, not transferring.
Wow, 2008. What
Dover.
were you doing in
Dover International Speedway. I didn't even have iRacing back in 2008. Those were the early days of this.
Yeah, iRacing was brand new back then. Here are the results on screen. So Speed and Hansen head through to the feature. Hinch, unfortunately, will just miss out on a spot and will head through to the consolation race along with everybody else below him. But here's our grid for the next heat, along with Aussie Chad Reed in the first position. You'll have a mad scrambling. Well, there's a lot of VWs on this grid from that shot. We've got a couple of Fords in the background too. Garrett Smithley starts from second.
And he's got the Feeded America on board, the Pro Monster truck driver, and Menediga inside for the number 3 spot. Only 6 drivers in this. Row number 2, get to see the Indy 500 champ, Alexander Rossi, along with the 3 of Travis McCoy and Christian Brooks in the 4 in P6. And just to mention, you saw the decal layer and the paint scheme of those tonight's race. The final one of this championship is the Feeded America Grand Finale. They are once again this week's charity partner, and we'll talk more about them as tonight's program goes on, as they work to provide more than 50 million meals in coordination with our title partner in this, in Subaru. We're set, though, for the final 6-lap heat race from Motorsport Hell. The last week, this Subaru iRX All-Star Invitational is going to go to the feature. A couple of cars creeping on the grid. They look for the lights to go green. We're off and away. What's the calamity going to be like as we race to turn 1? It'll be a Joker opening lap for Smithley. Chad Reed on the inside as well. Contact with Rossi. 4 cars up there fighting as they rejoin the surface.
So Chad Reed and Pecoy don't take to the Joker. Everybody else behind of Smithley, Rossi, Meninga, and Brooks take to the Joker. They're in 3rd to 6th, respectively, in that order, and they're getting a bit argy-bargy here down the back end of the pack. How about the lead between Pecoy and Reed? Pecoy will lead the first lap, but how about everybody else behind? Remember, it's a 3.8-second Joker delta time here at Hell.
And Chad Reed blew it a little bit in that slow right-hand gravel section. That's how that 3 of Pecoy was able to get around him. The margin between these top cars and the rest of them that have already taken the Joker lap, about 3.6 seconds right now. Rossi, there he is, the Napa Auto Parts sponsored entry, the leader of that group that has already completed that mandatory stop. He's followed by Brooks, Meninga, and Smithley, your top 6 cars on track right now. But certainly the up front, somebody like a Pecoy, somebody like a Chad Reed, of course, trying to take advantage of this. But the driver that I'm really looking at is Christian Brooks. Can the 44 wiggle his way into P3? I think he needs to get that one more spot up the road if he wants to transfer. That would mean catching Rossi the last lap. He was only a couple of hundredths better than him, though. That would not cut it. Couldn't Rossi, though, get into maybe a battle with Chad Reed here, as Chad Reed has to serve a slowdown penalty.
Oh, and a brilliant pass there. So great to see Feeding America on board. Contact between the two. The V-dub of Reed turned around. That's one way to turn your car around, facing the right way on the racetrack. So this is, no, that's not Pecoy, sorry, that's Rossi, who will head through to begin another lap in the Napa Auto Parts Andretti VW. You want some stats, Evan, from 2008 from Rossi? Are you ready for this?
Bring it.
Formula BMW America's champion. I got that from Wikipedia, so I hope that's correct and accurate information as Rossi heads through to the middle part of the lap here. He's butchered the gravel section, and he's opened the door here for Christian Brooks in defeating America's Subaru. And there you go, one mistake at the toughest corner on the racetrack, and Brooks is through to second.
That's the same spot that we saw the mistake out of Chad Reed, who has fallen way down the running order. So that pass for position 2 could be the big one. Pecoy up front, still taking it around the inside. His advantage over this group, about 3.7 seconds. As Alexander Rossi now has to hope that Christian Brooks makes a mistake, which would not be to his MO. Of course, Pecoy Brooks, fastest of this group in the qualifying session. That's why they started at the back in P5 and 6. As this time by, they'll take the white flag.
So there's that jump. Get a little bit of air there. I do like the North American jumps where it's get a lot more air time than that, but at least it's something here at Hell as Pecoy will win this heat. Brilliant stuff from Travis Pecoy, who started down in 5th, was our second best qualifier in this inverted grid. How about behind them? I'm seeing Brooks now overtaken by Alexander Rossi. Now, is it confirmed here? This is on a separate camera I'm watching, and there they are alongside each other on the final lap. This is important for grid position. Brooks went nowhere on the exit. That's going to open the door for Rossi, who's going to take home the final transfer spot.
He's going to come in the final corner. Rossi forced wide. He's going to go all the way to turn across the finish. But Christian Brooks, for the moment, maintains second. Rossi falls to third. But there was an awful lot of contact between those drivers. I would say, Johnny, that they both hit each other about the same amount of times. There's a big shunt post-race. But listen, they hit each other about the same amount of times. If we're talking about a penalty, just amongst those two, I think they were pretty even. However, if they're penalized like the penalties have been through all of this, then the driver I'm looking at is Tyler Menninga. If either of those drivers are given a 5-second time penalty, the 23 could actually end up in, but your unofficial results say it's going to be Pecoy and Brooks moving on. If
you can adjudicate that, you should be commended for sure. Matt Kalish and Aaron Bean in race control have their work cut out for them. So does Chris Leone here, who's one of our series organizers from iRacing. But we have to move on to the consolation race. And at the moment, it will be Craig Breen starting from pole. Our pole sitter each round in the inverted grids has gone nowhere. He'll be joined by James Hinchcliffe in the VW alongside him. How about Brandon Semenak in the Red Bull Subaru? And then behind them will be our Nitro Circus star car of Josh Sheehan. He returns after Kevin Carlisle took his seat the other week. And 5th position will be Connor Daly, who we haven't seen much of in Rallycross the past couple of weeks. And how about Parker Kligerman, Evan, starting from 6th?
He'll be on the outside of that second row. The back row, you're going to find Blake Bilko Williams in the 222 at an early race incident. Travis Pastrana unable to qualify out of heat race number 3. And then at the very back, going to be the 55, of Chris Atkinson in the number 9 spot. So the biggest grid we have seen so far tonight, 3 rows of 3 wide. You're going to make that dive down to 1. The rules for the LCQs remain the same. 6 laps, however, only your LCQ winner going to make it to the final feature of the season. They look for the lights as we get set to send the ball down to turn number 1. Green flag, let's do it 4 wide. And the initial dive is going to be Breen on the inside and a lot of contact. A huge spin for Semenuk, who stacks up Pastrana. The 55 of Atkinson. It is chaos in the Joker as Semenuk is up and over.
Oh, he's still turning. This is utter carnage at the start. They're not even on the racetrack as they head into the middle sector here. Semenak involved in an incident. Pastrana, as you called it, Evan. Now to the end of the first lap, I have to look at a timing screen to see who's leaving. It's definitely leading. It's definitely Craig Breen. Hinchcliffe in second. Connor Daly, who missed the lights, he went nowhere at the start, is in third.
And maybe that was a strategic decision by the 20 to be no part of that big mess off and into the first quarter. Still cars wrecking. She ends off track. Even further down the road, more cars spinning. So LCQ number 1 has devolved it into absolute chaos as Craig Breen using the number 1 position in this one for the grid to try to run away in the 42 car. You can see the Joker laps remaining. It'll update this time through, but first, second, and third still yet to take that big time penalty. Joker, now there goes Breen. Your race leader's going to go for it. That'll open up the door for James Hinchcliffe. The undercut, he'll go to the race lead. Connor Daly cycles through into second, and Breen will find himself third ahead of Parker Kligerman. That's the big driver you need to watch because Parker already done his Joker. So him and Breen for position here.
So that Joker graphic on the left-hand side of the screen will only update when the driver crosses the start-finish line. So don't get confused if they've taken to the Joker. It'll update soon enough. Now that is James Hinchcliffe running very wide. Daly's almost turned him around. He's run very deep into the corner himself. And Craig Breen in third, ready to go here. Breen should take our one and only transfer spot for 10 drivers in the heat. He's in prime position. The main thing Breen needs to be careful of here is Kligerman 2 behind, and he's also going to be careful of not getting involved in an accident. This transfer spot is far from decided. Kligerman is ready to pounce and is confident in that Ford Fiesta.
And Breen might be in a tough spot here because he may be slowed down if he's stuck behind Connor Daly for any longer. 2 laps to go. If Daly doesn't go for the Joker this time, he's going to have to do with another whole lap and not going to bumper off the 20, and that's going to be the case. Also, in the battle between Breen, there's contact. He gets into Daly, keeps his foot in it, and hangs on. You talk about the battle between Breen and Kligerman. Kligerman actually qualified better than the 42 car did, so the speed is in there somewhere, and there's a big shot, but Kligerman is around. He'll go off track, and that throws it away for the 77.
Yeah, he might have to serve a slowdown doing that. Kligerman 4th in the point standings, and he's a long way off claiming the 3rd position from slot speed, but we should expect our top 2 to Joker. Daly heads to it along with James Hinchcliffe in the lead. That will hand our transfer spot to Craig Breen. Parker Kligerman, after his mistake, won't even end up in second. He's got to make his way past James Hinchcliffe. I think it's all over, though. I think Craig Breen's got this in the bag.
It's just a tough pill to swallow. It was actually Breen who got checked up behind Daly. That checked him up into Kligerman. That's the only reason those 2 cars got together in the first place. And for the final time, the 42, Craig Breen, he will get golden ticket number 9 as Breen is headed to the feature.
Oh, goodness gracious. The pileups continue post-race. Luckily, as we say every week, they don't need to invoice for any of these cars, whether they run the Subaru, the VW Beetle, or even the Ford Fiesta. But like you said, Evan, Willy Wonka will give that golden ticket to Craig Breen. And we say goodbye to everybody else, unfortunately, for the rest of the day. Josh Sheehan in our Nitrous Star car rounding out the 9-car field for this final consolation race of the day. You can see the standings still updating. Some of the drivers still out there on the racetrack. Bilko Williams, who will be driving in our Supercars E-Series Celebrity Race on Monday, will also finish down the order a lap behind. It did not complete the final lap here at this brilliant shot we see of Lankabanen here in virtual Norway for Hell RX. Now we head to our final consolation race of the day. Another all-star cast of drivers heading this order, and it will begin with Ron Capps, the drag racer, starting from the 1st position in the Napa Autosports Ford Fiesta.
It'll be a big grid for the 2nd LCQ. He'll be joined by the other Napa entry of Alexander Rossi, who is known to get a little bit aggressive in some of these LCQ races, with Kevin Swindell rolling from 3rd. Tyler Medinga going to join up with Justin Lofton and Garrett Smithley on row number 2. And then you will find the man on the boat, Greg Biffle, 7th. Chad Reed in P8. Connor Bartel the only race he started tonight, forced to P9 in the LCQ, and it'll be rounded out by the 18 machine of Mike Krahulik. And as well, just because this is the final round, a big thanks to James Hinchcliffe, Connor Daly, Travis Pastrana, Parker Kligerman, Brandon Semina, Chris Atkinson, Josh Sheehan, and Blake Bilko Williams did want to give all those drivers a call in the finishing order from LCQ number 1 for participating in this event with us, not only this evening, but over the course of the last 5 weeks as well. We're off and away for an LCQ2. It is Rossi Enos in front of, but he gets into it with caps. Rossi spins, Swin down to the Joker. He's followed by Smithley, and most cars go for the undercut as Swindell gets a time penalty. It's absolute mayhem. That's Menenga barrel rolling out of turn 1.
Oh, he's still rolling. Goodness me. That was, again, we thought last heat was utter carnage. You throw 10 cars into turn number 1 here at Hell, and that's the result. We see similar starts in the real world, not with as much carnage. It's a lot easier to race in the real world. A lot of these, we see more contact in the back. A lot of these drivers have talked about how it's a struggle just judging your front nose compared to the rear of other drivers behind, and that's why you see some of the carnage. The Joker graphic on the left-hand side of the screen will identify whether a driver has taken that Joker, and you can keep track of that for the rest of the event. But so far to the lead, let's head to the order. It's Reed from Biffle, from Lofton, from Connor Martell, who missed the heat. It looks like Chad Reed, though, is in prime position to win this LCQ and our one and only transfer spot.
Yeah, Chad Reed had made his way into the heat race. I would say that Connor Martell had a legitimate chance, as Martell is now way off track in the 21 machine. So it's basically going to be the end of his hopes. He'll be, fun with the likes of Ron Caps way behind. There's the onboard with him, way back in his 4th position. There's a lot of contact with Rossi and Smithley. That's why those drivers fall down the running order. As you can see the high side around and a Joker lap that time through for the number 21 machine of Connor Martell. So his Joker now out of the way. It'll drop him, though, down to position 6, way out of that top spot that is still led by Chad Reed. Halfway through LCQ2, his advantage about 4.5 seconds.
So there's a penalty here for Greg Biffle, and he's had to slow down, we saw, at the start-finish straight. So he sacrificed the 2nd position to Justin Lofton. And I think that could be day done for Greg Biffle, but I don't cry at all for him. He's on a boat, and he's probably enjoying life nevertheless, as we see a couple of the drivers take to the Joker. That includes Lofton, Biffle, Smithley, who will get rid of that one and only Joker lap that they will have to take mandatory so far. I guess it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Chad Reed here is still in prime position to win. He's going to head to the Joker here with 2 to go. Interesting time to take it. He's made a mockery of hitting the apex, but I think he should be okay to exit here in the 1st position. The car ahead is a lapped vehicle.
And the car behind was Justin Lofton as well, who dropped way back because he had a slowdown penalty on the previous lap as well. So that's how his advantage grew, to 5 or so seconds, even with taking the Joker lap. So it is just about remaining clean. And of course, Reed, if he were to falter, Lofton an opportunity to close in. It's going to be the final time around. I think if Chad Reed has any issues, it's going to be right here with Mike Krahulik, who is a first-time driver with us this evening. Happy that he came to race some iRace and Rallycross. Not going to go to the feature as he struggles off and into the 1st quarter, and Chad Reed has cleared him on his final lap. It was going to be that left-hand section right here, which, we mentioned a few times tonight. I think our favorite portion, it goes back onto the asphalt for the right-hander, and it is way in front of the rest of the field. Checkered flying in the air for Chad Reed, who wins LCQ number 2. The record holder for most main event starts at AMA Supercross history is going to the final feature of the race and of this season, as he's going to move himself on. He is your LCQ number 2 transfer. Lofton, Martell, Smithley, Caps, Rossi, Biffle, all finishing down just on the lead lap, along with Lick, Rossi, Swindell, and at the very back, Josh Sheehan. A big thanks to all of those drivers for, of course, participating with us in this championship, but unfortunately, they are not going to the main event today.
No, that's unfortunate. So Chad Reed had that in the bag. It was all decided on the first lap as we saw cars barrel rolling and on their roof and other carnage. And unfortunately, the day done for Lofton and Connor Martell, who could have headed through to the feature. He's very quick in rallycross. So day done for Martell. Smithley and Caps round out the order. Biffle racing from the boat will only end up in 6th, but great to see him the past 2 weeks. Our NASCAR legend in the series. Alexander Rossi didn't get what he deserved either. He could have had a transfer spot to the heats, and unfortunately his day is done, along with Kevin Swindell and Tyler Meninga. But Evan, we head through to a feature next, and it's going to be a good one with 10 of our best here to end the season for the All-Star Invitational.
And your last chance to get a bunch of points in that championship as well. So we'll step aside, and when we come back to Norway, the final time, we're going to go feature racing. You're watching the Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama.
Love. It's what we've always said makes Subaru, Subaru. And right now, love is more important than ever. In response to COVID-19, Subaru and our retailers are donating 50 million meals to Feeding America to help feed those who now need our help. It's all part of our commitment to our communities through Subaru Loves to Help. Love. It's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
And back live as we look from above Motorsport Hell, located in Norway, and a bit of a trip back down memory lane. It was just a couple of weeks back on April the 10th that we kicked off this Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama, in which Mitchell DeYoung won the open round of this championship, and now we are back for the finale. Happy that you're with us, still on the iRacing Esports Network. Evan Pasoko and Jonathan Sabana with you as we get set to close out today's Feeding America iRX Grand Finale. And we may not have had as many flips, Johnny, as we saw in Atlanta last week, but I'll tell you what, those heats of the LCQ certainly were some real good racing, as we have whittled our field down on professional drivers from about 27 to just 10.
Yeah, the racing's been good. Very entertaining for sure. The feature's only going to get better now. You get all the quick drivers in one heat. There's not going to be too much of a pace discrepancy between the field too, so it's going to be tougher to overtake. It's going to be better to watch the overtaking action too. Less carnage as well. It's all going to have to be hard fought. It's coming down to the final event for the season. There is a potential for more of these events to be held, so stay tuned, of course, too, on the iRacing social channels and through your favorite drivers' social channels too. But in this heat, 10 of the best, Evan. Can't wait for it. We know the championship's sorted, but there is still charity money on offer for second and third. And it looks like Sammy Matty, Trogan, and Scott Speed will take those spots, but we don't know in what order yet, because so far Speed comes into this round with a 3-point deficit to Trogan. Can he make up for it in this feature event?
He'll try to, and the likes of Kligerman was, just on the doorstep at fourth, although Parker for a second week in a row not advancing to the feature. Craig Breen, another name who is right there on the doorstep. Craig missed it out in this one, already missed a round of the championship altogether, so that is going to hurt in the battle, of course, for, how this all plays out. So he has an opportunity to make up points if he can get this thing done, and he'll have a good grid position for this one. And you talk about the charity aspect, not only is it going to be for $10,000 to our eventual top three in the podium, but again, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, and I want to talk about them today, that today's iRX Grand Finale charity partner this week is once again Feeding America. And in response to the COVID-19 crisis, Subaru and their retailers are making a donation to provide more than 50 million meals to Feeding America. Those meals will be available at 199 local food banks across the country as local communities work to get back on their feet. If you'd like to donate, you can join us by going to feedingamerica.org/Subaru loves to help. Every single dollar donated helps provide 10 meals to local member food banks. Yes, this is fun to do on the iRacing service. It would not be possible without the drivers joining us and all of you at home tuning in. But at the end of the day, for a much bigger cause that we're doing this.
So great to have Feeding America on board, and great to have them supporting people during the unfortunate coronavirus global pandemic that we hope ends as soonly, but first of all, as safely as possible. Now, as we head to the feature, look out for those starting towards the back of the pack. They're your quickest drivers. Remember, the feature is inverted. So Sammy Matty Trogan, our quickest driver from qualifying, will start from last, right behind Mitchell de Jong. These two are by far the best in sim racing and rallycross. Trogan was our 2019 champion, if you're new to the coverage, in the sim racing rallycross championship. He also races in the real world in RX2 last year in the FIA World Rallycross Championship. Mitchell de Jong's a previous real-life Red Bull GRC driver and also a sim racing champion back in 2018. But have a look at those two come the race. They'll have to start behind a three-time real-world champion in Scott Speed.
And as we get set, let's take a look at the starting order for your feature race. And we will start with this 10-car grid. Again, the invert, so it'll be Chad Reed on pole position for this one. He will bring us to the green flag, three abreast with Craig Breen, the 42, looking for critical points with maybe a long shot at a top three in the championship here available. And it'll be Christian Brooks, the driver out of Santa Clarita, California, on the inside of that three-wide front row. We'll continue on through with Kevin Hansen in the number 4 spot for the 71 machine. And in the middle of all of that, the guy who nearly won it last week at Atlanta, P2 finisher, the 24 of Sage Karam. The 02 of Kevin Bigham way on the left-hand side. That could set that Dirtfish Subaru up for a good run to the Joker on the opening lap of this one. He'll start 6th, and then back on the inside, boxed in, the 3 of Travis McCoy, and then it is the big 3, Scott Speed, number 41, rolling from 8th. It'd be the 24 of Mitchell de Jong in 9th, and the best seat in the house to your race winner from a couple of rounds ago earlier in this championship at Lucas Oil. It is Sammy Matty Trogan in the 1.
Going to be a good one. They're going to barrel roll into turn 1, but hopefully facing the right way up here. It's a very chaotic start at Hell. The lights will illuminate soon. Remember, 10 laps of action for the feature this time out. Still one Joker available to the drivers. This is the most important race that pays the most championship points. I think they've got the all okay from race control for the lights to illuminate.
10 laps for this feature race, 10 of the best drivers to close out this Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. The lights are green. We're off and away for the feature at Hell, and they are 4-5 wide. Run down to the Joker Karam. There's 6 of them going the long way around. It is Breen who's the first of that cluster out of the Joker. Now here comes the 24. Karam forces his way through.
What a brilliant start. I had a look at the Joker. Scott Speed was indecisive. He didn't know whether to take to the tarmac or take to the Joker. He's just been passed by, it looks like, is that Mitchell de Jong turned around? De Jong's been turned around, our series champion. Sage Karam in issues too. Two of the BRS Coanda Sim Sport cars in trouble.
And that's about the only scenario in which Mitchell de Jong, I think, doesn't win the race, or Trogan is a critical error like that. Yes, 10 laps, a lot of time. De Jong's going to be able to make some of it up, but Trogan has been clean, and that's the biggest thing working in favor of the number one machine. So Pecoy, Trogan, 1-2 on track. Craig Breen, actually, in a battle for third, just now being overtaken by Christian Brooks. So I think Brooks, the net leader when you talk about drivers that have jokered, and they're sitting, Johnny, right at about 3.5 seconds off of the top two. That is awfully close to exactly what the Joker Delta is, as 1-2 again opt not to go for it.
Yeah, very interesting feature right now. We don't know who's in prime position to win this one. Rogan, if he makes this pass on Travis Pecoy, should be capable of. It looks like Pecoy's having some network issues because he's blinking in and out of the server, and that's going to open the door to Trogan here. Can he make the move around the outside? It's almost impossible. Contact between the two though, and Trogan has to work for it. The more he fights with him, the more time he's going to lose.
And maybe that's the idea behind Pecoy here, is maybe force Trogan into an error. Of course, if this battle for first and second continues, then it'll continue on. And a big development from race control, a 10-second penalty to third-placed runner Christian Brooks. Thought that maybe with those top two yet to go for the Joker, that Brooks could be set to get this. He's only 3.8 seconds, but due to that penalty, he will have 10 seconds added to his finishing time. Brooks, his hopes at a podium washed away as we continue now watching that battle first and second. There's Brooks back with the likes of Breen and Speed for third through fifth.
Yeah, so don't count out de Jong yet in the Coanda Sim Sport car, and don't count out Sage Karam, who's in the Drea and Rainbold Racing Subaru. So they're still in contention, maybe for some good points, but possibly not for the win. It's between Trogan and Pecoy. I think Trogan's made a move here for the lead. Trogan's slotted his way past Travis Pecoy, and finally the Williams Esports driver will head through to P1 for the first time this race.
And he pushed the track to the absolute limit there as he got up onto the curbs, and obviously did it with inside regulation. We've talked about slowdown penalties in this championship, where basically if you get half a car off of the racing line, you'll get a 3 or 4 second slowdown penalty. That's automatic. There is no discretion involved in that. It's automatically issued by the sim. I thought that maybe Trogan pushed it a little bit tight there as he trot up on the inside of Pecoy, but he is clean on through, and he takes over the race lead in this one, with Pecoy now stuttering down to second. This the fight for third. Breen still ahead of Brooks, but again, a penalty inbound to Brooks means that Craig Breen, the driver, that is going to be the challenger for Trogan and Pecoy. Another lap, another decision to not go for the Joker, is 3.7 seconds back from third to close it up for the 42.
This is interesting now because Scott Speed is the quickest of these three. Is Scott Speed going to win his first feature of the season? Oh, goodness. Almost contact between the two. That was Brooks. Almost into the wall, the young man who also races in the road to Indy. We know Christian Brooks. He's got experience both on ovals, road courses, dirt and rallycross. Speed is being held up like there's no tomorrow. You could hear him on board. Well, you couldn't hear him on board to better put that. He was hardly on the throttle, just so patient, waiting for Brooks to get a move on. The more and more Speed is stuck behind him, there's less of a chance Speed will win this race.
And you talk about the experience with Brooks on the road, as there's going to be contact again, and Scott Speed is tired of waiting, and he moves the former Supercarts champion out of the way, and now Brooks with a big bobble, he's into the fence. Brooks off it into the Armco. His feature race is done. Speed gets through, but I think it cost him too much time, and he's not going to be able to get the job done. So let's reset up front. 2 laps to go in the final feature. It is Trogan looking for his second feature race win. 1-2 still needing to come for the Joker, as Breen in third is dropped off another half second.
So Evan, exactly, good point there. Breen doesn't have the pace anymore. He had to keep within 3.8 seconds of Trogan. Now he's fallen down to 4.5. They may be alongside each other when Trogan takes to the Joker this time round. Watch him send it here at Hell for the final time. Makes a bit of a mockery on the entrance. Not the best Scandinavian flick, but he will be untouched in the lead. There is Breen for second. There's contact between him and Pecoy. Scott Speed in fourth, ready to pounce if these two collide.
And they're still banging doors now in the final lap. It was basically the biggest slide job you'll ever see by Breen. He gets ahead of Pecoy, who's going to try to hang on to third. Went out in front of the field. Sammy Matty Trogan going to go out in style. His second feature win of the Subaru Invitational comes in the finale at Hell RX. It is Trogan, winner of the Feeding America iRX Grand Finale. He holds off Craig Breen and Travis Pecoy, who finish on the virtual podium.
What a cracking race. Seriously, what a cracking race that was to end the season. Couldn't have ended it any better, with passion and with love. Good stuff from Sammy Matty Trogan to take another victory, and that confirms him to be in the second position in the championship. If he finished ahead of Speed, he sealed it. Vice versa if Speed finished ahead of the Finn, and you couldn't have finished that any better. There are the final results on screen. Our series champion down the order in ninth, but Trogan, a well-deserved victory for the Williams esports team.
And you notice the worst finish of the season for Mitchell DeYoung, but he was comfortable enough at the points that does not affect his standing, and he'll walk away as the $5,000 overall champion. To look top to bottom, 1 through 10 in your feedingamerica.org iRX Grand Finale feature from Norway. We'll take one final opportunity to step aside. We'll talk with your top finishers this evening and bookend what has been a great 6 weeks of virtual rally action. Back for more from Hell in a moment. You're watching the Feeding America iRX Grand Finale on the iRacing Esports Network. And back live with the iRacing Sports Network coverage of the Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama continues and now ends from Motorsport Hell with the Feeding America iRX Grand Finale. Happy that you're with us for post-race coverage. Evan Pasoko, Jonathan Sabat up top with you, and we're going to go downstairs first and talk with your top finishers. That'll include your feature race winner from today, 3-time qualifying champ, and second in the points when it is all said and done. Let's chat with the driver of the number one machine, Sammy Matty Trogan. And Sammy, first and foremost, congratulations on this win, second of the championship for you. Just talk us through this one, obviously having the start from the back.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it was clean race for me. First got a pole position and then a hit win, and then I won the feed race. So yeah, it was overall really clean race for me.
Obviously, we kicked off the championship here at the beginning of April. Mitchell got the win in that one, and it has been you two back and forth. What was the difference here tonight to get the one car on top of the podium?
Yeah, I mean the pace was really good today, and I practiced a lot with the fresh track, so maybe that was the case. And also I practiced a lot with the start, so my start was good. So that was the thing, I think.
To look back now on this championship, some familiar names for you, obviously, with the iRacing Rallycross World Championship, but as well, how was this experience for you to get to race with the host of different pro drivers that joined us for these 6 weeks?
I mean, I have to say was really fun experiences for me. Like after the invert all thing, this has been really fun overall. Get overtakes and everything, so it's been really nice experience.
A lot of people tuning in who may be watching, one of their first iRacing events or maybe their first rally event. So for those who may have just been introduced to you over this championship, let the folks at home know what you're going to be doing on sim racing and what kind of races they can catch you in next.
I mean, I will do quite much circuit racing and wait, of course, when the iRacing Rallycross World Championship starts. But before that, I will do circuit racing.
We're looking forward to when that does return, Sammy. And we appreciate you not only being a part of this 6-week championship, but giving us time post-race at a lot of these to talk with you. You get the race win tonight as well, which is great. You got your third consecutive Yokohama pole position award, so you got another one of those custom handcrafted skateboards on your way. But we can now confirm as well that you get second place in our championship, which means that you will be able to donate $3,000 on your behalf to a charity of your choice. So I know that's got to be really cool.
Yeah, it's really nice for me also that I can help other people. So I have to look what I will do. But yeah, that's also a really nice thing.
I think that's the best part of all of this. Sammy, we'll let you get going. We appreciate you, like I said, being a part of this, and congratulations.
Thank you all.
And is your race winner today in the Feeding America iRX Grand Finale, and your second placed finisher in the points, Sammy Matty Trogan, the driver of the number 1 Subaru. We'll continue on down through the running order, and Johnny chatting down with our P2 finisher today, the 42 of Craig Breen.
So we've got Irishman and 30 years young Craig Breen, who jumps into the virtual world and puts it onto the podium for the first time this season. Craig, that must be a delightful finish for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's been nice. I have to say, this track for some reason it's a little bit more like rallying, a bit more gravel, a bit more undulation. So ever since I started practicing, which has only sort of been today really that I've picked it up properly, it's been nice. So was very lucky in a lot of ways through the races, but I really enjoyed it.
And I should excuse myself. You did finish well, didn't you, at Sonoma? So it's not your first time on the podium, is it? This must be a familiar feeling for you.
Well, I've managed to fluke it another time as well. So, but yeah, look, it's something to keep us all occupied. Obviously, we'd like to be back doing it in reality again, but this is something that keeps the competitive edge sharp inside us all. And I'm just amazed by the paces of the guys that are doing it full time. It's incredible the lap times they can do, and I've just been fortunate enough in a couple of races to be able to hang on and sometimes block my way and keep positions. But it's been a bar of laughs, and I've definitely enjoyed it.
We haven't had a chance to talk to you about the differences between the real and the virtual world. For you, is this a good practice tool, do you think, coming into iRacing and learning the nuances of dirt and asphalt and racing side to side with other cars, which is a little different, of course, to the World Rally Championship?
Yeah, it's different. I can't take so many relatives from rallying to this, but I think the competition is probably the most important part, and the preparation that goes into it, and understanding how to get the most out of the car. Obviously, the tires in rallycross in general is quite different to rally. And obviously, when we're driving on gravel, we have a specific gravel tire, and likewise when we're on tarmac, we have a specific tarmac tire. So this one, you've got a compromise for both, and sometimes it's hard for me to get my head around when you pass onto gravel that you have to be quite efficient and you have to be quite careful about your inputs, and when you come back on power, because normally, obviously, I'm used to a lot more grip, but it's good, I suppose, in that respect. And I've learned a bit of patience and how to be efficient and make the most out of the grip that you have.
And look at the benefits of rallycross compared to real world rally. You don't have to spend 10 hours doing recce on a weekend, and you also save yourself a whole lot of invoices if you crash the thing.
That's true, but to be honest with you, I'd recce I'd recce for a month, 10 months long. I don't care, just to get the benefit of driving a kilometer of a stage in the forest, at 130 miles an hour. Whatever recce they want me to do, I'd do it. For me, the buzz I get from rallying is unlike anything else in the world. So don't get me wrong, I wouldn't turn down rallycross if an opportunity came. I'd grab it with both hands, but no work would ever be too much to get the reward back of driving a rally car.
Hey, there you go. All right, we'll leave you to it, Craig. But Evan, that is Craig Breen, who gives us the nuances of the real versus the virtual, from rally to rallycross, a former podium finisher in the World Rallycross, in the former World Rally Championship, and he fared very well today with a podium finish to his name.
And he gets a great result out of this, and we'll continue things. First race chatted with the driver of the number 3. It is finished for Travis McCoy. Travis, thanks for chatting. Congratulations. The best way to close off this 6-week championship is with your best showing in a feature.
Yeah, no, it feels good. It feels good to finally run up front on one of these things. It's so tough, especially now with the inverted field. You do really good and you still start in the back of the final, so it's more just avoiding the carnage. And it took me 6 races to figure it out, but I rewatched my start and I just was so far back. I was in last place off the start, and I just kind of hung behind and waited for some mistakes and some contact, and was able to slip through. And after 4 corners, I was in first and trying to hold Sammy behind me, but he's just so fast. It's just such a challenge. So I had a good time.
And not only are you going up against the real world pros, but as well doubling up with the sim racing pros as well. And that's not to say that Mitchell and Sammy as well don't wheel, the cars as well outside of the virtual world. But for you, I mean, you started this season off well. You get a top 10 in the points when it's all said and done. But there was a little bit of a kind of a lag halfway through where you missed out on some features. What was the learning process like getting used to racing with these guys amongst the obviously very different tracks that we went to over the course of these 6 weeks?
I think what I kept getting caught up in was, the inverted field. You'd have guys running probably, a second to 2 seconds slower lap in front of you, and the biggest learning curve was being able to get around them races, because, if you can't get around them or if you have contact with them, like, you're just going to get your doors blown off, especially with the Joker. It's just so much strategy. Instead of, trying to out-strategize them, you're just trying to, use a strategy that's going to get you the most clear air in front of you without, one of the slower guys that start, qualified last and is starting on pole. So that's the strategy you have to play. But it's all part of the game. It was fun. I mean, I had a blast. I wouldn't, obviously in quarantine, this is the only thing I'd like to be doing on a Friday in the house, right?
Exactly, and kind of to that point, I'll ask you the same thing that I did when I talked with Sammy Matty, your race winner tonight. Is, of course, it was a couple of years back for you that you made that transition and took the steps to get into rally cars and to race these. And, with all the different drivers in this, I'm sure there's fans of drag racing and IndyCar and NASCAR who may be watching a rally event for the first time, maybe watching an iRacing event for the first time. So for somebody who this was their first exposure to the name Travis McCoy, where would you tell people to keep up with you and what you're going to be doing, hopefully, when we can resume racing on the real side?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's announced this year yet, unfortunately, but there will be rallycross racing. I can tell you that much. My Instagram is TravisPcoy3, and rallycross in America should be really exciting here in the next couple of years. So as for now, I'm gonna keep doing the iRacing stuff. Hopefully another one of these can pop up somewhere. But other than that, just keep following.
I know there's some rumblings of trying to get some things together, and we hopefully, would like to see that come to fruition in the future, Travis. But at least for this iRX Invitational with Subaru in Yokohama, we appreciate you being a part of it, and thank you as well for giving us the time. Congratulations on a good showing, and hopefully we see you down the line.
Right on. Thanks, guys, and thanks for putting this on. This is a blast.
P3 finisher tonight in the finale of this championship, the Feeding America iRX Grand Finale. Big thanks to all of our top finishers for chatting with us, for Simi Matty Trogan, Craig Breen, and Travis Picoy for your top results. And as well, we will continue things with our series champion. We knew that it was true coming into this one, and I know it wasn't quite the walk-off the driver of the number 24 wanted, but we are chatting with your series champion, Mitchell DeYoung. Mitchell, feels weird saying this for a P9 showing, but congratulations, because at the end of the day, you get the job done and you're our series champ.
I appreciate it, guys. No, I have to say it's fantastic just to be here. Being able to race with such huge names and people that are, have been my hero growing up, like Travis Pastrana and those guys, like, it's so cool just to be a part of this thing. So first and foremost, I want to say big thank you to letting me be a part of it. We had a really good run. Unfortunately, the last round didn't quite go to plan. We ended up having some terminal damage after about halfway, but that's how it goes. The races are exciting, and the reverse grids really shook things up. So I'm thankful that we're able to still get 4 wins. That's more than I could have imagined we would have had with the way everything was kind of going. So it's a good one for sure.
And this is obviously your domain on the iRacing service, and I know that these rallycross sessions on iRacing extended far and beyond just this hour and a half here on Friday afternoons. Of course, the real-life crossover guys maybe getting exposed to it for the first time. How do you think some of those real-world stars did on their transition, kind of getting them out of their comfort zone?
I think a lot of them did really well, for sure. It was very cool to see the progression of everyone from round 1 to all the way to this final round. It was cool to see, everyone really practicing hard. You could pretty much always look in the hosted sessions of iRacing and see a handful of the guys, like the big name guys that are stars and whatever they have in real life, that are just putting in a lot of hours, like working at this, and that's such a cool part. With the times as they are, it's cool to have them kind of in our world, and there were some really standout ones for sure. I hope they stick around because it's definitely nice to have them.
And of course, at the end of the day, this was for a fun event to give folks at home something to enjoy with some of their favorite race car drivers during this time where, there's no actual racing taking place in the world. But as well, I think on top of all of that, racing for a good cause. And courtesy of taking home this championship, you'll be able to donate $5,000 on your behalf to a charity of your choice. Have you allowed yourself to get a charity or a certain cause in mind yet, or are you still going to be thinking through that here over the next couple of days?
I kind of decided on Feed the Children. It's exciting to be in this position to have it kind of donated in my name and all that. That's so cool. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, we're all here because we're super competitive. We want to beat each other, but it's for a good cause, and anything we can do in these times, super cool thing. Thankful to be a part of this, where I was in a position where it can be me that is the one to have it in the end, and I'm excited. Hopefully it makes a difference. It's definitely a cool thing that we're in this position.
And certainly think that's a good choice, Mitchell. We'll let you get out of here. Before we do, though, for all the time that we've borrowed from you, I think it's only fitting. Anybody else you want to say hi to or give a call before we let you get out of here?
Absolutely. Big shout out to everyone in Koanda Sim Sport, always supporting and, on and off the track. It's a great thing. Virtual Racing School, VTech, and We're Design. Of course, you guys broadcast and that are putting on a great show for us. iRacing, putting this on. And all the fans for tuning in, staying with us this whole time on, our personal streams as well as the official broadcast. You guys are the ones that let us keep doing it. So shout out to all of you.
And certainly not possible without the participation of you and the rest of the drivers. Mitchell, one more time, congratulations on the championship, and hopefully we'll see you down the road.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
that is your champion of the Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational presented by Yokohama. And Johnny, that just about wraps things up as 6 thrilling weeks now, unfortunately, come to a close.
I'm getting emotional. I've shown my passion and my love for the final time, but there's a chance this could return, and it's only right we speak to Chris Leone, who comes in, our series organizer from iRacing. Chris, you've got a lot of people to thank. I hope you've included yourself in there, though, too.
Well, Johnny, if I lead off with myself, that'd be a little too vain, wouldn't it? I mean, first of all, obviously, thanks to everybody on our team at iRacing who has just worked so hard over the past few months on all of these pro invitationals. NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA was last night. I mean, you know, it's been such a Herculean effort all the way around. And, you know, there are a lot of people. We'd be here all night if I tried to read off everybody's names, but the entire iRacing team has basically been working 24/7 to, you know, take care of everything, both for our user base and for all these pro invitationals. So got to give a shout out to everybody there. Championship online racing teams for both the broadcast with David Damboys and Aaron Bean in race control. My longtime colleague Matt Kalish for race control and video work. All of the drivers for coming out. Congratulations to Mitchell. Per unofficial points, Mitchell DeYoung, yep, the champion. Sammy Matty Trogan second, Scott Speed third. So we'll have some information on the charities that they want to donate their winnings to within the next couple of days. I mean, thank you to all the fans. Thank you to everybody who participated. You know, it's been such a fun and wild ride. And yeah, we do hope that we're going to be able to do a little bit more in the near future. This has been a good group of drivers. This has been a lot of fun and exciting racing, and we've learned a lot from it. Obviously, the iRX World Championship comes later in the year, so I think some things that we've learned from this series that we'll be able to port over there that will make that an even more exciting championship, and you'll be able to see Mitchell and Sammy Matty, as well as probably a couple other of these guys on that grid once the fall comes. But yeah, again, thank you so much to everybody. Whew, it's been a wild ride. I think everybody here has earned a beverage of their choice and a nice relaxing night, or Johnny, I guess morning for you because you're down in Australia.
Oh, yes. Well, I've stopped drinking coffees on a Saturday morning now because Rallycross gives me that fix.
Well, I mean, I've still got my energy drink addiction, if you will, so I still need to get up in the morning. But yeah, I don't need that evening coffee anymore, not after watching this.
Have you forgotten to thank Evan Pasoko as well, who's been a splendid talent himself?
This show would not have been anything like what it was without you two guys in the booth. I mean, there is a reason why when I put everything together, I called you guys my dream team, and it's true. I mean, you know, between the way that you guys have called the races, and it's funny because both of you guys are really play-by-play guys a lot of the time, and so to have the shared booth, it was you know, it was awesome to see kind of how you guys bounced around, and we had a couple of other people who dropped in, you know, for various races. We've got to shout out James Rimmer and Jim Beaver as well for coming in and pinch hitting with us in a race apiece. But yeah, no, thank you guys so much for taking the time calling these races for us, and I know that you'll be calling quite a few more races throughout the calendar year, whether they're pro races, whether they're world championships. So thank you for taking the 6 weeks out of your lives to focus on this championship and help make it what it was.
Well, I will say as well, bold of you to trust me with something that involved right turns. But I guess we all have to we all have to adapt in these times, Chris. So of course, I'll echo what Johnny mentioned as well off at the top, that none of this would be possible without all the time that you put in, and you know, kind of late nights here after these races, getting things ready for the next time out. And it is sad to see it go. We've had a lot of fun over these last 6 weeks, Johnny, but I think to that point, I think we might enjoy maybe a small opportunity next week to take a deep breath for once.
Oh, man, I'm just flattered Chris Leone compared us to the 1992 United States basketball team with you got Michael Jordan, Karl Malone. Who else was on that team? Barkley was on the team. Magic Johnson, I think, was on there too. My God,
there's some sort
Larry
of
Bird.
documentary happening that I think 1 or 2 people are watching on TV these days that features them heavily.
Yeah. Oh man, I've got to catch up on that. So please don't ruin anything after we leave here. But man, it's been, last comments from me is I don't want to say I'm getting emotional, but I'm just saying, it's been such a great team to work on this series. It's been such an enjoyable thrill. It saved me off coffees in the morning. And in all honesty, just want to get back to the next round already. The season's ended so quickly. We've got iRX on the schedule. I really hope iRacing, when they find some time, can get at least the Circuit of the Americas Rallycross track sometime onto the service along with Spa and Barcelona. We get those additions in. It just gives us even more tracks and circuits to visit along with the multitude we already have. Credit to them for giving us what has been, and giving these drivers as well what's been a thrilling and entertaining series, and all for a good cause too.
It really has been one of the most exciting and as well the best received, new forms of racing to the iRacing service as of recently, not only in terms of world championships and pro drivers and broadcast, but as well just for your everyday iRacer who wants to go out there and have some fun with their friends. These things are an absolute blast. And I will repeat what I said, talking with your top finishers. And again, none of this possible without the drivers tuning in and all of you at home as well, joining us every Friday afternoon. But until next time, and whatever that may be, that is it for us here tonight from the virtual racetrack in Norway known as iRX. Want to say one more thanks on behalf of our partners in this for Subaru and Yokohama. This series was sanctioned by the court administration team, the Championship Online Racing. So for Race Control, Aaron Bean and Matt Kalish, for our producer downstairs, David Danboys, for Chris Leone, the entire team at iRacing, and for your broadcast team, one final time. For Jonathan Saban and myself, Evan Pasoko, congratulations to Mitchell DeYoung, the Subaru iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational, presented by Yokohama Champion. We'll see you next time for Rallycross here on the iRacing Esports Network.